Welcome to another episode of the Love and Reality Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, we are going to dive into the Temptation Island reunion. We invested our time throughout this entire journey watching these couples through each and every single episode, give it their all to try to see if at the end they were right for the person that they were with. We followed Caitlin and Hall's story, Maricela and Christopher, Paris and Great, and Vanessa and Roberto. Throughout this journey, this has been so much fun. I've loved diving into the world of Temptation Island with each of you. I appreciate everybody's support of the show and watching it each and every week. And then, of course, jumping on and listening to my recaps, sharing their thoughts of everything that went down. Big shout out to my friends over at the Temptation Island Reddit board who have been incredibly supportive of the Love and Reality Podcast. Can't thank them enough. But without further ado, let's dive right into the finale. And that's the reunion, folks. All right, after that explosive finale, we have reached the end of the 5th season of Temptation Island. We get to find out who's still together, who broke up, and who's ready to fight. Mark said everyone and some of the singles would join us. My goodness, we got a clip of what's ahead for this episode, and boy, does it get spicy and spicy fast. We are live in front of a studio audience, which I absolutely adored. Everyone is sitting. Let me set the stage for you guys. If you haven't already watched, I'm sure you already did. But for those of you maybe not, just watch. Maybe you came to see what I thought before you even watched it. Who knows? But we got the couple sitting on one side. The couples are all together over on the left, and we got some of the singles on the right-hand side. We got Mark in the middle. We got the Oprah couches kind of ready, where we got him in the middle, 2 couches, one on the left, one on the right. We can only imagine what's ahead. Everyone talked about the light and said when the light was brought in, it definitely kind of set the different stage for what was going on in the other rooms, whether they believed it was one of them or not. Hall said he didn't turn the light on one time. Great said he didn't either until the end, and Paris looked at him and told him to shut up. Paris is in rare form. We are in the reunion. She's already telling to shut up. We got Paris and Great who are up first. We got a montage of the two entering the island. We get the mumbo jumbo, blah, 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 blah. In the middle of the fucking clips, Paris goes, see, that's the video. And then the incident where she talks about sucking the dude's dick, she starts covering her eyes, and Grace says, explain that. It's nice to see that we've gotten over that. So we get the statuses. Great said he didn't talk to Paris for a week or two when they came back. She said it took him a few months to contact him. These two kind of go back and forth. Mark said, were you going to get back together? And she said, nope. She said she left the island with Nafisa. He left the island with Nafisa, but called wanting to get back with her months later. Paris said, Paris said he was eating ass and having sex with everybody. And he quickly defends himself, saying, I was just licking syrup off the other girls. The other girls kind of stand up, saying he tried to do other shit as well, including Tammy, who he just said is just jealous that she didn't get part of that action. It was kind of funny here to watch this, just with Paris just ready to just dive right back in. You know, they filmed this almost a year ago. The reunion was filmed in March, and this was just definitely an interesting dynamic to watch as she's still harboring this entire thing. Paris said she never had sex. Great wants to know if she did what she said she was going to do in that video and suck Tahijik's dick. She said no. The camera pans to Tahijik, and he has this goofy smile on his face, and he says, no, she didn't. Look at that. She kept up with her. We get an update where Tahijik and Paris are. They left the island, and he said we didn't have time to exchange info. And she said, I gave him everything. My phone number, my email address, Instagram, email, social security. She gave it all. He never contacted her. Never contacted her. Holy cow. Like, that was just a lot to unpack all in itself right there. And she goes, I messaged you on Instagram. And he said, I get all types of DMs. And Paris got pretty pissed off. Christopher voices up and saying, if you didn't feel her, just say it. And the thing about it is if you recall, like we watched the show, I had a feeling that he was just kind of here to get a little bit of the spotlight and move on with his life. Paris said, "You don't know what I went through after you ghosted me." Great, try to comfort her. It's so funny. Paris gets a little bit emotional, saying that she really kind of felt upset and hurt that they made this connections and on the show, and she just felt that she was upset and wished that he would understand what she went through. When Great tries to put his arm around her and comfort her, he puts his hand on her and she says, "Get off of me," and just like smacks his hand away. Fantastic. He said he took a bunch of different avenues and hit bumps on all of them. He said, "I'm sorry for not reaching out. A few things he is dealing with and struggling to have faith and things." Paris said, "I wish you respect feelings." Great in Nafisa's turn. She went to New York, met his family. She said that they stopped speaking. He said things moved fast on the island. The first 2 months were great, but it fizzled out and the island love wore off. See, that's the big thing about this. Like, for this lengthy period of time, I think it's like a month or whatever, they filmed, like you're in this bubble. You're in this bubble for so long, and there's no responsibilities, there's no jobs, there's no family, there's no nothing. You're in this bubble. It's just like too hot to handle. You get out of this bubble and it's nothing. Like there's nothing. Like once you introduce jobs, love, life, family, traveling, long distance, all of these things come into play. That's where the issues come into the equation. Idea though, I really feel like Temptation Island, they should find the singles, find couples, kind of maybe do like a Love Is Blind type of thing. You find couples in a specific area of town, and then you find singles in that specific area of town, and you move them to the island together, right? You know what I mean? Then you have that opportunity to kind of mix and mingle with people. And when you go back, the expectations aren't as bad. So Tammy speaks up saying that he was just, it was just physical about Nafisa and Great. And then Nafisa said, "Nobody asked you." These two exchanged some barbs back and forth. No love lost there. Tammy called out Great for never being direct with any of the women. Mark said, "We are clear you didn't care." And even though I don't believe that. Mark's on fire tonight throughout this entire episode. He doesn't. The thing about it is what I love about Mark is he gives it back. And he doesn't give it back in a disrespectful. He gives it back in a matter-of-fact tone. Tammy's up here saying, "I don't care. And he says, "We're clear. We understand. You say you don't care, even though I don't believe you," because nobody else believed her, because she's still harboring these feelings towards Great even after all this time. Tammy says all the girls came to make a connection. Great says the love is still there. And Paris said, "It's okay. You can cry," which, again, Paris is on fire. "I'm dying." Mark says if he still has feeling for Nafisa, and he said yes. Paris said, "What about me?" He said he does have feelings for both of them. Nafisa said it was refreshing to hear he still cared. Paris's final words said she is happy with herself, and that even if isn't even mad at Tahijik anymore. Growth. Look, Paris is a beautiful girl, beautiful woman, and anybody would be lucky to have her. So I'm happy. You know what I mean? Go Paris. Caitlin and Hall time. Here we go. This thing again. We saw the bonfire last week. We saw what Hall had the opportunity to do last week. We had the opportunity to step up to the plate and try something different. Maybe come to this reunion, not harbor all these ridiculous hard feelings, and just be honest and say, "Hey, look, these are the mistakes I made," et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Caitlin speaks first. She said that the bonfire is exactly what she remembered, not knowing the person that she came here with and not knowing the person she was looking at. The ring gets brought up. I guess they had a conversation about the ring. Hall stopped paying for the ring when he went on Temptation Island. What? Like, you came to the island with expectations of leaving the island, not with her. I don't care what anybody says, bro. We now see you for what you did, and it's kind of ridiculous. He lied to her and told her it was paid off. He said, "I lied to myself for 8 years." And Mike speaks up and said, "You lied to Caitlin too." He said, "No shit, Sherlock." Man, it gets heated in this conversation. I get so excited. Sorry, guys. He said, "I cried myself to sleep every night." Shut the fuck up. Like, just shut up. Hall said, "I never felt a partnership from her." And he said he got lost. And she said, "Get lost somewhere else." Caitlin. I love it. Hall said this experience was awful and it was the worst and best experience of his life. Sebastian and Michaela get into the argument. Michaela and Caitlin get into a battle. He said he never had the emotional connection. He proposed because it was the right thing to do. He brings up family. She said you never even reached out to his family, her family, which they were really, really close. 8 years, long time, never communicated. Hall complains because everyone says for him to speak about his feelings, but then whenever he speaks about his feeling, they keep running him over a million times. Well, the thing about it is every time you speak, we have an issue with what you're saying. So of course people are going to run over what you're saying because you're not, saying the right words. You know what I mean? Not being respectful to somebody that you were in a relationship for 8 years. Mark said, you seem angry, defensive. He said, I am. He said, I'm a good man and I come from a good place. He said everyone thinks I'm an asshole. Paris yells out, because you are. And Great says, no, you're not. It's nice to see like the back and forth bickering happening in the background. Zeb and Michaela are brought to the stage. Zeb is up first. They talked for a little bit after the show. Long distance fears kind of got him the best of him from a previous relationship, so it backfired. He said if they lived closer, it would be different. Mark asked if he still cares about her. He said, I don't fake feelings. A little pop chat. And of course, he still does. Caitlin said she feels a connection and intrigued by him. She said the two of them, she said that between the two of them, they should have left the island. Mike is brought up and wonders what they are. She said he reminded her of her ex and ran. And it was nice. I love that Mike got brought up. She apologized to Mike about what she did to him on the island. He appreciated that apology. Very, very solid. Hall and Michaela, they're still together. What? Oh my God. Didn't see that coming. 100% didn't see that coming. Thought for sure they'd be broken up. Now, this was filmed in March, so maybe they're still broken up. I don't know. We'll see. But at the same time, I don't love Hall and his arc throughout this entire show, but it would be pretty cool to have a relationship come from something like this single married or engaged person. They get together, they have babies, live happily ever after, whatever. Let's see here. They're still together. They've been hanging out, traveling together. They've met each other's family. He said he's never felt this way. Michaela said she's speechless when Hall said, I love you. And she said true love exists and will never settle. And she's super happy. Hall says she accepts me for me, makes it easy. Caitlin chimes in, says it's crazy to jump from engagement to being in new love. Bombshell. He said, do you think I was coming to Temptation Island to meet a girl and fall in love? And he said, no, he was going to leave with and think that he was going to live with someone else. He never thought that in a million years. He said, what's next is for her to move in with him. He said, move in with Michaela in front of everyone. She says, I definitely will. Caitlin says, Charleston isn't big enough for the three of us. And that was the funniest thing, quite possibly one of the funniest things said in this entire episode. It was hilarious. If you love someone, distance isn't a thing, which was Hall's direct shot back at Sebastian, I guess, for him saying that the distance there just didn't work. Whatever, bro. Maricel and Christopher time. All right, listen, if you got the popcorn ready, let's get the popcorn ready. He says if they spoke a few times since the show. They don't talk now, though. Maricela said it was freeing. Maricela, as soon as the show wrapped, she called the family to clear up the sexuality thing Christopher exposed. Her family took it better than he expected. He asked his thoughts, Christopher. He said, why do I have to protect her? Although Mark stops him right there. Stops him in his track to tell him to shut the fuck up, bro. You're about to stick your foot in your mouth and you shouldn't. Period, end of story. This is not cool, bro. No. This was a flat no. Just shut up, bro. Mark stops and said, a healthy relationship is respect, and it wasn't his truth to share. He said these days when he thinks of her, it hurts. He said he received phone calls. She came over. They had sex. What? What? When they left the island, he reached out to her family talking shit. He chimes in, well, why'd you call my father? And his relationship with his father is awful, but she reached out to his family. Christopher kind of chimes in and is like, you are a fucking hypocrite. Everybody's saying that he's a hypocrite because he's yelling at Maricela for calling her dad when he called her family talking shit. But he's like, well, I had to call her to get all the shit out of my house. Alexis calls him out for saying shit. Christian says, is saying basically everyone else is saying Christopher sounds like a huge hypocrite. It's getting loud and feisty. Maricela said she spoke to her family after she left the island and everything was good, but he called her family and started talking funky to him. So she had a call. They got a call from her and she was like, what is going on? Maricela apologizes to Christopher for speaking to his dad. Mark says, are you two actually going to break up or continue to have the relationship you brought to the island? Bingo. Like they're not together, but they're still fucking. They're still talking every once in a while. They're argumentative, all of these things. Christian says nice things about Maricela, vice versa. She said she is focusing on herself and they speak ever so often. Christian said they've had a great relationship and never wanted to put her in a box. Mark said, you both live in LA? He says, well, look at that. Mark trying to play matchmaker here. Alexis and Christopher time. Alexis said she left the island and visited him in Texas, and she visited his family during the holidays. She found out she was pregnant and is no longer pregnant. Wait a fucking minute. Rewind. Wow. Like that was not a bombshell I was expecting to hear from this episode. She said it's still fresh and she's still dealing with it and the bad of their relationship. She said things were shitty. She cried every day and called Christopher shitty. Maricela said, I agree, which was hilarious. She said she was emotional and he said we were both shitty. Mike says, I don't know, but I know what I saw and called him a narcissist. And holy shit, everybody claps, which is nothing but a fact. Everyone calls him so fucking rude. Alexis asks what happened with Maricela and Christopher after everyone snaps on Christopher. She said she was driving to Atlanta. Christopher asked Maricela for nudes and she sent them. At the time, Alexis was 2 months pregnant as he's getting nudes from Maricela. Maricela asked about Alexis, to which he said, don't tell her we are talking. Like, this dude is something, bro. Like, you got a pregnant girl at the crib and you are, whew. Wow. Maricela asked, and then of course, wow, she said, like, don't worry. And Christopher asked Maricela if she planned on saying something at the reunion. She says, I don't know. Like, Christopher's like covering all of his bases here. Christopher said that he wasn't sure she was pregnant. She said we were having unprotected sex on TV. He said, are you sure the baby was mine? Like, Mike was ready to jump off the deep end with that guy. Like, this dude didn't get an opportunity to say a whole lot, but he had some fucking one-liners that were incredible. The entire place erupts. He said it was a legitimate concern. He got Maricela pregnant, Alexis pregnant, and another girl pregnant. And Mark chimes up with, don't make me be a dad. Wear a fucking condom. And it was incredible. I love Mark so much. Alexis gets emotional, saying it was a hard experience and that it was very hard to deal with all of it. Mark got a little emotional, kind of giving it back to her, just being there for her. I love Mark so much. Vanessa and Roberto. Oh, shit. Mark asks what happened after they left the island. After they left the island, the relationship was perfect for 72 hours. Christopher wanted to call Desiree about what went down, and Vanessa flipped out. Vanessa said when they left, he made her think that they just kissed and it didn't mean anything. Completely downplayed their relationship. She didn't understand why he needed to talk to her, but she sees it now because it led Desiree on and made her feel vulnerable and have the emotions that she did towards him. And remember, she asked, do you want to contact her? Because it was a deal breaker. Do you want to contact her when we leave the island? He said no. She said if he would have said yes, it was a deal breaker at that given time. She said if he would have said yes, I would have talked to her and I would have not left with Rob. She said she had love for Bryce, but never wanted to cross that line because she had respect for Rob. She's never been in contact with him since. We see a clip of Desiree. They did Rob dirty here. Like, I'm going to be honest with you guys. They did Rob dirty here. They knew what they were doing. This drew some serious drama, serious reaction, and this was brutal. We see a clip of Desiree naked on top of Rob. I'm assuming that we never saw this clip, and it was their last date where this happened. Vanessa said he hadn't seen this yet. And when we returned to the studio, everyone says it's about to go down. Like everybody like had their popcorn ready. Everybody knows that Vanessa was about to go off the deep end. Vanessa is hot. Christopher says, I'm scared. Vanessa said, I believed you and you lied to me throughout. He said, I'm sorry. Vanessa gets really emotional. She said, I lied because I'm selfish and I wanted to have my cake and eat it too. We see Alexis whispered to Nafisa that he hooked up with Desiree and told her that he was leaving with her. I'm going to be honest. I don't think there is a single guy on this show that ended up looking good at all of the people that were in relationships. There were some good guys on the side. The singles were, but there wasn't a single guy in this single guy that came into the show in a relationship that ended up looking good. Hall, no. Paris, no. Christopher, no. Roberto, no. Like none of them. Like none of them did. Vanessa asked if they had sex, and Desiree said yes. She asked if they used protection. She said no. Vanessa wanted to fly off the deep end. Vanessa said, I see why he owed you an explanation. She said, I'm so hurt and I've been so vulnerable. She said she made sure to give him everything. I loved Vanessa from the beginning. And even within the motions of being so emotional and seeing something and this big facade that Rob let her down. Desiree said Rob's an amazing person, maybe not for you. She said, I was so hard on you. I'm sorry you didn't deserve that. He said, you're an amazing woman. Desiree says she left the island confused, and he said was only 10% chance that he was going to get back with Vanessa. Rob said that their final goodbyes, and Rob said when they said their final goodbyes, he says, I didn't miss you. Talking about Desiree, and that's when he made the decision. Vanessa is a bad bitch that deserves the entire world. Find her a man that can and be that opposite of what she needs, because she is incredible and deserves that. Vanessa says, you lied to me. They embrace, and Mark comes over to get some love as the episode comes to an end. What a crazy, crazy reunion. I would love to hear your thoughts on what went down. What do you think of everything that went down? How crazy is it to think that Hall and Michaela are the only ones still together from this entire season? Are you ready for another season? What did you think about these characters? What do you think about maybe me doing an episode of ranking the men and women on the show? Maybe I'll do something like that. Who knows? But don't forget, just because you listen to this show and it's coming to an end doesn't mean the fun stops here. I've got some fun coming up for you guys in the very, very, very near future. Don't forget, you can check out my interview with host Mark Wahlberg from earlier in the season. You can check out my interview with Caitlin and as well as Hall, available right here on the Love in Reality podcast. I'm available here on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, all the podcast platforms. You can check me out on YouTube, where you can watch me do these breakdowns and recaps as well. Over on YouTube, I've been breaking down the Challenge USA Season 2, along with some other things. I'm also got some interviews coming with the Ultimatum crew. The Ultimatum Marry Me or Move On Season 2 is coming is here on Netflix, and I've got some recaps coming of that, where you can check out those out on YouTube. You can also check out some interviews with the cast and crew coming in the very, very near future from the Ultimatum. Very, very excited to share those with you guys as well. Thank you guys so much for listening throughout this entire ride of Temptation Island. Saying nothing but love, and I hope you continue to enjoy the Love in Reality podcast.